Good morning, Nancy. It's Carolyn.
Hey, Carolyn, I'm having this weird wonky thing with my PowerPoint.
Hmm.
So I'm having trouble minimizing it so that I can get out of the slides and go into the other part of the presentation with the share presentation thing.
I'm not a PowerPointy person.
Oh. Do you have the slides for today? I sent you an email about this just a minute ago.
Oh, I think I did.
But you may not want to do this, and I can try and punt my way through it, but it's just really frustrating to me right now because it's this tiny little formatting thing whereby I have the minimize button up in the upper left-hand corner.
I'll hear you. Let's see. Somebody did send me the slides for me, but it wasn't Beth or Otter or.
No, I loaded these slides from Karen's shared drive.
Oh, you did?
Well, I loaded them into my computer in PowerPoint, but that was last week when I was just trying to get them up.
Oh.
So that I thought that I'd be able to just flash through them for this short service. And I should be able to, except that it's PowerPoint is not helping.
What did you want me to look in that drive and see?
Yeah, that's where the basic slides are. I mean, we just need the slide. I can bring up Morning Has Broken on my computer. I can share the screen for that.
I'm in our shared folder, but I don't see any slide things.
Well, what have you been using for the slides?
Well, Karen runs it off of PowerPoint, but like last week, I made a Google slide.
Oh.
Because I don't have PowerPoint.
Oh.
But your PowerPoint should work. Any slideshow or any document or any file, even any website, you know.
Right. No, I think I can get it to work. The problem is it's just going to be really clunky when I have to transition.
So which things could I help you with?
Well, you could help me with the opening slide. That one that's welcome to Decorah UU.
Let's write it down so I get on here. Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry to put you in this situation right now. I mean, I'm tempted to just say, let me try and go ahead and see what I can do with the...
Why don't you share your window? Let's see what it looks like. Do you think it looks too incomprehensible?
No, I don't think it's not the window itself. It's that I can't minimize PowerPoint once I'm in it. And because I can't minimize it, I've got to sorry, I got distracted there trying to fix this thing. Let me just close this and see what happens. Okay, so now what I need to do is get to my other computer screen, and that's because I can't minimize this. I can't seem to do it.
No, try hitting escape. Click in it. Click your...
Okay, now I'm there. Okay, now I'm there. Can you see me?
Hang on, I was kind of rooting around in I can see. Yep.
There's Matthew. Okay.
I don't have a share screen yet. Do you want to share screen and see how it looks? Or
all right. Okay, let me try the share screen thing. And Microsoft PowerPoint, Zoom, Decorah, share. See, it's getting me this this other PowerPoint that I'm trying to just close.
Right. Yeah. closed it.
But then it doesn't have, so here's the Morning Has Broken. I do have Morning Has Broken. So for the opening song, I can share that. But I don't know what to do about these slide things. I'm so frustrated with this. Matthew, Matthew, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you a PowerPoint guy in Microsoft, in Mac?
Sorry, I'm not. I basically use Google Docs and the Google Sheets I've used. So that's, yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've ever seen PowerPoint.
Okay. All right. Well, let me keep working on this. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how to solve this problem. I'm in a problem that I cannot fix.
Okay.
And the problem is that the slideshow that I have loaded for our thing, when I hit this, all right, now, okay, wait, I think I found the solution. Okay, there. Now I can bring it in and bring it out. I think I can do that.
Okay.
But I've got to get my text and stuff ready here. Okay. So everything's muted there. So I'm not going to do that. I've got the new welcome and announcements language. I've got to find the land acknowledgement language. Here we go. Okay. Now, what did I do with the slide for the chalice lighting? I thought that I had that loaded. Yes, there it is. Okay, so I have a chalice lighting. Oh shoot, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Sorry. Close this one, open this one. I think the main problem that I'm going to have is trying to just calm down enough that I can just go through things and not fuss about it.
Yeah. Well, you're in friendly company, so you cannot go wrong.
All right, are we at 5? No, we got 5 minutes yet. Hi, Beth.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So if I could, I just have one quick, as Otter was mentioning about the people who will move and second the movement, because we're all muted, how were we just going to allow people to unmute themselves to move for that? Or
Good point. Oops. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe at the beginning of the business meeting part, you can say that. You can say, just as a reminder, if you want to be the one to make a motion, you'll need to unmute yourself and then remute yourself.
does that have the potential for a little chaotic moment of multiple people unmuting and or do we care? Should we just try it?
What do you think, Carolyn?
I don't think it will be that confusing. I think it'll be okay.
All right, perfect. That's all I had.
And then you're also, Matthew, going to explain to people about the voting and putting up the hand. Hi, Parker.
Yep.
Okay. I love the brick wall in the background.
Don't we too?
That's great.
We have a brick chimney.
I've appreciated it in these services when I see your lovely fireplace and that lovely it's gorgeous back there, Beth.
You can't see the dust because it's not that clear, so that's good. And check out my pergola that Tom built me.
Oh, let's see.
We're talking about a pergola.
Can you see it?
Yeah, very nice.
Nice. Can you see it? I don't know. Yeah, that was my 30th anniversary present.
I like it.
I gave him cookies.
Perfect.
So I've pulled up, Carolyn, I've pulled up all the documents for the meeting.
Okay.
Matthew and I had a question, or did you already ask that, Matthew? Like if he's talking, but I'm the co-host, can people see him and the document at the same time, or?
I don't know. Do you want to try it? Here,
Yeah,
let me
try that, Matthew.
let me make Matthew a co-host too.
Okay. But if I say, I'm going to click on share my screen and see if it'll let me, like.
Okay, good. I can see
Yes,
it.
I can see that.
So like if we're looking at this, which I don't guess I
And
wouldn't
then-
look at that one, but here's the minutes.
Oh,
Right.
you know what? I should do that.
So we can see Matthew over on the side, or we can see a little strip.
Yep. And then the person who speaks usually pops up into the highlighted or the main screen. So as I'm speaking, if it's up, then it should be there.
Is there a way to move? Oh yeah, there is. Huh, who knew?
Hey, Carolyn,
Yeah,
do
Okay.
you have today's bulletin on your computer?
yeah.
Okay, so sometimes if I ask for today's bulletin to be kind of put up there, can you share your screen or someone?
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Do you have the bulletin, Beth?
I do, yeah.
And how about Beth does it? Because Beth's already set up and
Okay,
Should we, yeah, just if you say share the bulletin, or how should we do that, Nancy?
well, I'll just say for the announcements part, I'll say the announcements are in the bulletin and Beth is going to just share the announcements page of the bulletin.
Okay, so then I can just go, wait, no, wrong one. Here we go.
Yeah.
So are they at the end? Yeah. Like that?
There they are, announcements.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's an easier way of doing it rather than my reading them all and just kind of doing that.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
should I start the at least meeting thing?
yeah, I think you can if you feel ready. Yeah.
I'm not quite ready, but good morning, everyone who's joining us. What's that?
I say no rush.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hello, everyone who's joining us for our pre-service
Okay.
technical
why-
meeting.
This is Lynn. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know why my picture isn't up there. Do we have to wait till 10 or?
No, go to the lower left and you
Lower-
should see a thing that says share video.
Or share screen?
Yes, try that. No, you're still just your name.
Okay.
On mine, it's in the lower left corner of the
Oh, share video.
share video. That's it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Every
right.
Zoom meeting seems to be different.
Yeah. My name is Nancy Barry. My pronouns are she and hers. I'll be the service leader today. We have 5 minutes before the service begins. So as long as we're meeting remotely via Zoom, before we run the service proper, we'll go through some basic instruction and etiquette about the Zoom meeting. Please keep yourself on mute unless you are talking. Otherwise, everyone else will likely be subjected to whatever background noise is coming from your computer. If you're connected online, you can use the chat function to write messages to everyone or a particular participant. Click on the down drop arrow to choose someone under the chat function if you want to relay a particular message to a particular person. And we'll have some other folks who'll be kind of monitoring that for me during the service. And so I'll read comments from the chat if they apply to all of us. I'm going to try, you'll have to be patient with me. I'm trying to run the whole service today from my screen. And so I'm going to be a little clunky with that, but I'll try to describe what I am showing for anybody who's connected only by audio. To use the participants feature, You can relay messages to us. So you can click on participants and you can raise your hand. And when you raise your hand, I will see that you have raised your hand and call on you and unmute you. Please identify yourself whenever you speak. Although people who are online will be able to see your name and possibly your face if you're sharing video, there may be people who are participating by phone only who may not recognize your voice. Please be aware when you share announcements, joys and sorrows, that this is being recorded, and so what you say is live and will exist on the recording of this. Be patient for all of us, especially today, since we're doing the annual meeting. Be patient for everyone to unmute themselves and just give yourself a minute to do that. If you're sharing your video, try not to sit directly in front of or beside a bright light source. I'm looking at everyone who's sharing their video right now, and it looks fabulous. If you're participating by video, you may wish to enter full screen mode. To do so, click on the icon in the upper right that looks like 4 arrows pointing outward. As I said, the service is being live streamed and recorded. Anything you say will be publicly available. Today's bulletin is available on the website, decorahuu.org, and we'll paste portions of the bulletin in the service itself. So please be patient with me this morning because I'm trying to run all the slides from my computer, and I'm doing the best I can with that. It's 10 a.m. Oh, something totally weird happened there. Sorry, I'm getting a share screen that I don't want.
It looks okay.
Well, can you see the slide?
Yeah.
But I've lost myself. I'm getting this weird Zoom thing where it's like I've lost the meeting.
No, you're still here.
Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Decorah UU. As I said in the pre-service words, my name is Nancy Barry. My pronouns are she and hers, and I'll be leading the service today. We are a welcoming, lay-led spiritual community moving together in time in an open search for truth and meaning. We believe in people's inherent capacity to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment, pursuing the good of humanity. This service is being live streamed and recorded. Anything you say will therefore be publicly available online. If you are visiting us today, we welcome you. If you would like to introduce yourself online, please open the participants, click on raise hand. When I recognize you, unmute yourself and share. Carolyn, are you raising your hand?
No, I was just waving at Celia, so excuse me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought maybe you were raising your hand. Does anyone want to welcome Ellen McDonald? I'm unmuting Ellen.
Good morning. I'm going to say exactly the same thing that I've said for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but that is that we've had some heroic work done out at Twin Springs. It's looking great. Carl and Lyra and Karen have all been out working extensive periods. It's gorgeous out there. Even if you don't want to pull any garlic mustard, just go out and have a walk among all the strangers who are in our park. Sit on Sue's bench. It's really nice.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. We've moved into the announcements portion of our service. I just want to make sure if there are any audio only guests who would like to introduce themselves. Okay, so moving on to the announcements. Beth, could you show the announcements from our share screen from our portion? We have lots of announcements in the bulletin. Today we are doing a short service because we have our annual meeting. So I don't want to take the time to read all of the announcements, but draw your attention to them. The Member Emergency Fund, the Decorah UU support, Decorah UU giving, all of these sort of announcements I think are typical for us. The circles, please remember that we're trying to keep our circles moving during this social isolation time. So you may be contacted by a member of our fellowship who has agreed to help us stay connected while we're practicing the social distancing. I think that's all of the announcements that I'm going to say. Does anyone else have announcements that they'd like to add to our announcement screen?
Hi, this is Lolly, and I just wanted to thank Ellen McDonald for the beautiful daffodils from Carl Peterson's garden that Ellen sent over to me, and thank you very much, Ellen.
Thank you, Lolly. Any other announcements? Okay, hearing none, I will move to our chalice opening song, And I will share my screen for that. Just please be patient with me as I'm moving through all of this.
Morning has broken like the first morning.
I don't think the share screen has happened, so we'll have to just listen to it.
Praise for the singing, praise for the warmth, praise for the spring, fresh from the warmth. Sweep the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first breath. Praise for the sweetness of the garden, strong in completeness when we see the mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, another one light, eating softly, praise within nation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the warmth, praise for the screaming, fresh from the world.
Sorry. I apologize for that. All right. So I seem to have lost my Zoom there. Okay, so I'm back here. So I'd like to do the chalice lighting that we have. During the chalice lighting, I will read the words that are from our UU blessing to the 4 directions. Let me share my screen. And hit play. Spirit of East, spirit of air, of morning and springtime, be with us as the sun rises, in times of beginning, times of planting. Inspire us with the fresh breath of courage as we go forth into new adventures. Our land acknowledgement this morning is something that we are beginning to do in our service. It's customary in countries such as New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and among tribal nations in the US to open events and gatherings by acknowledging the traditional indigenous inhabitants of the land. Acknowledgement is a critical public intervention, and it's a step towards honoring Native communities and enacting the much larger project of decolonialization and reconciliation. Even though we are physically in many different places this morning, we would normally convene in the Lingonberry in downtown Decorah. And considering that sacred space, we offer this acknowledgement. We're grateful for the help of Luther professors Holly Moore, Anna Peterson, and David Faldet, as well as the US Department of Arts and Culture. We acknowledge that Northeast Iowa was home to the Ioway, whose traditional name is Bascozy, the Sac and the Fox. The Fox traditional name is Meskwaki, the Dakota, and the Ho-Chunk, sometimes called Winnebago, though the origin of this name is derogatory. We acknowledge that Northeast Iowa was home to these people and that their relationship to this land continues today. We acknowledge our sad history of broken treaties and the forced migration of indigenous people. We are grateful for the way this land supports and sustains our lives and thus also expresses our appreciation for the stewardship of this land by its prior inhabitants, indigenous, migrant, and immigrant. May the values of reciprocity and truth-telling, still so vital to indigenous culture, inspire us as we seek a path of peace and justice in our lives together. Now is the time for joys and sorrows in this, our short meeting before the annual meeting. So if you would like to raise your hand, and be recognized for a joy or a concern, please do so. Does anyone have a joy or a concern? Julie Fisher.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
We had a joy this morning out at Melanophy Springs, just noticing all the wildflowers and the quiet, and some of the woodpeckers were active. So there's a lot to see there now, and we would just encourage everybody to go and take it in at some point. It's particularly good early in the morning when there isn't a lot of rush. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Sue Oddie.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge a wonderful letter, or I guess I should say the religion column that Otter Dreaming wrote for our Tuesday paper in Decorah. I know Otter has his own virtual copy, or his own the copy on his computer. So if you didn't get the paper or you don't subscribe, I'm sure Otter would be happy to share it with you. It was beautiful and a very touching story of how this time in our lives has touched him and his family. Thanks, Otter.
Thank you, Sue. Julie Fisher, do you have another joy or sorrow?
I do.
Oop, sorry, unmute you.
Oh.
Go ahead, go ahead. We can hear you now.
I have another joy to share. Mary Jorgensen sent around to our, I think it was just to our circle, an exercise that we can do that helps to calm the spirit. And I thought that was very kind of her to do. If anybody else would like to see that didn't see it, I'd be glad to forward it to them. But it was really nice of her to do that. And I appreciated also Otter's essay in the paper. I thought it was absolutely excellent. Cut it out, and I'm going to send it to some other people. So thank you, Otter and Mary.
I just have a note here from Julie Odie that she will she could put Otter's column on the website, if that's okay with Otter. Do we have any other joys and sorrows?
Nancy?
Yes.
I can't raise my hand since I'm a co-host on this, but I would like to just offer a joy for us. This has been a birthday full April. Parker had her birthday on the 7th. Oren had his birthday on the 27th, and Finn just had his on the 30th. So we have been busy trying to figure out how to celebrate birthdays remotely with as much love and care. We had a sign out for Finn saying honk for Finn's 18th birthday. That was a hoot, just having everybody, people you didn't even know, honking for him. It's been nice in this time of keeping to ourselves, trying to also be able to share, same as we did with the prom that I mentioned a few Sundays ago. So yeah, it's just been a joy, still trying to connect in the midst of all of it. Thank you.
Do we have anyone on the audio only who has a joy, a concern, or a sorrow?
This is Lyra.
This is Lolly.
Okay.
My joy is that this is the second anniversary of my move to Decorah. I moved here the first week of May in 2018. And I'm loving every minute of it, even with social distancing.
I would like to then ask for. Oh,
Sorry, did Lyra have something to say?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
It's funny that she just mentioned the 2-year anniversary, because I was going to comment that I just had my 6-month anniversary being back to Decorah. And I've been out at Twin Springs working with the garlic mustard, and what a beautiful time it's been to be back here and to be a part of nature.
Do we have any other joys or concerns? Hearing none, I would like us all to take a moment of silence to reflect on those joys or sorrows that are in our hearts, and that we commit to the universe for healing, for strength, and for joy. Well, I'm sorry to say that as I enlarge this, I've lost the sound for your joy is
On
my
that
joy.
little speaker symbol on the top right, maybe.
Well, I have to, okay, here we go. Okay, now is the time for our offering. Even though we're meeting via Zoom, we continue to require the gracious gifts of members of our community and friends to support our congregation. Especially, we understand the current circumstances may make it difficult for you to provide financial support at this time, but if you can and would like to give, and you are online, please visit decorahuu.org and click on the Give Online button in the middle of the page to see numerous ways that you can support the fellowship. Okay. This is the time in our for our service proper to move to the annual meeting. So I will turn this over to Matthew Alexander, the board chair, so that he can conduct the annual meeting.
All right, I'll take this time to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Beautiful Sunday, beautiful weekend that we've had. Thank you all for coming. I just saw that we have 27 people gathered together here remotely. I hope you all are doing well. And we will begin with our proceedings and try to get through this as quick as possible, keeping our information, within that 3 to 5 minute range and keep moving along. So I will begin with the approval of the 2019 minutes. Before that, is there any item about the minutes, if anyone has read them? All of these items I'll be bringing up were sent out in an email. Again, and Otter included them as attachments to the email about this current service today.
Matthew,
Yes.
this is Julie Fisher speaking. I have one request. I think in the paragraph about our membership report, would it not be a good idea to mention by name the new members? I don't see that in there, and I think that would be, for the record, would be a good thing.
Okay. Well, Deetra, is that something that we can look to adjust?
I have a quick question. Julie, are
Yes.
you talking about last year's minutes, or are you talking about this year's membership report?
I thought that this year's membership report was in the minutes, but I'm not sure. I don't, maybe it's.
No, but right
Oh, sorry.
now we're approving last year's minutes. So it'll be great to talk
Well-
about that later, but this is
But
for
she's
last.
also, sorry, she's also correct. In last year's minutes, it's not mentioned, the
Okay.
members. But I believe, Julie, that there would be an attachment of the membership report, which would include those, but we could amend the
Okay.
minutes to put
If
that.
that's correct, if it's somewhere else, I just wanted to be sure that it was somewhere that,
Yeah.
you know, we had a record of that.
I think
Okay.
I'm sharing the screen now of the membership report section of the minutes, and it says 3 new members there, but it doesn't say their names. So do we think we should add it there or no?
I know they were in the report last year, for
Yeah.
whatever that's worth. So.
Yeah. So they're in Deetra's report, which is also in the record. But,
Okay, if it's in the record, that's fine. I just wanted to check up on that. Thank you very much.
All right, and then moving, are there any other items as we look to approve the 2019 minutes for the annual meeting?
Matthew, this is Carolyn. I'd like a motion to approve last year's minutes.
Okay, Otter, we have Carolyn moving to approve. Do we have a second?
I'm
Second, this is Nancy. I am seconding that.
All right, Otter, we have Nancy Berry seconding that. Carolyn moved to approve the 2019 minutes with Nancy Berry seconding. All right.
Matthew, do you
Yes.
want to explain, or maybe we're just going to do that. You're going to explain to raise their hands.
Yep.
To vote.
Sorry,
Okay,
thank
sorry.
you, Beth.
Sorry.
I also got a little lost that as I became a co-host, I lost my ability to raise my hand, which completely confused me. But on your participants tab in your Zoom, there is a place where you can raise your hand. So as we move forward, this will also be important when we move into voting, when we move down into the election items, that we're going to have people use that tab for participants and click on the raise hand to be able to do that vote. Beth, I'm not sure if we're going to do the raise hand for the, are we going to do that for moving and seconding, or are we going to allow that to just have people speak forward?
I think that works to speak forward for moving and seconding, but
And then using raise hand for voting.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds
Jean
great.
has a procedural question. She asked if the people on the phone can raise their hands, and I don't know. I think not.
Yeah, we were going to take a moment. Beth and I did discuss that we were going to take a moment to allow audio only people to put forth an audio vote, I guess, as it were.
Yeah, I will say that there is a way to raise your hand in Zoom, but it involves pressing star and a different number from what we use for muting. So I've always just thought, let's just keep it simple and only talk about how to mute and unmute on the phone.
Mm-hmm. So sorry, Karen, that's for just the audio people?
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay.
Hold on, let me see.
And I see another issue now, since I'm co-host, I can't see the hands. Can I?
You
I
can, but has anybody actually asked for us to vote yet?
Carl did just raise his hand, it looks like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can raise, but nobody's raising their hands yet because they haven't, I don't think the vote's been raised yet.
Okay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
All right.
This is Otter, another issue. I think this might only be in 1 or 2 cases, but if there are 2 people sharing one connection or one screen or one phone,
We have to be clear that we have 2 votes.
right, you could call for first vote and then allow time for a second vote if there's a second person. I don't know how you want to resolve that.
Okay. Yeah, that will be a question. We will see what we can.
Suggest, if there are two people on one Zoom account, can you send a chat to everyone and tell us that there's two of you?
Yep, Jean just posted that as well, that if we could put in the chat that there are 2 votes within, if you have 2 people on one device, if you could, in the chat, put in that you're putting in 2 votes, that would be appreciated. Okay, with that, I'm going to move forward for the approval of our agenda for today.
So
Yes,
Matthew,
that's it.
let's vote on did we vote on the minutes?
We actually have had a move to approve and a second to approve the 2019 minutes. Oh, sorry. And that's what you're saying is now we have to, for all those who approve, please raise your hand or say so. Aye.
Aye.
So, So Carolyn, in the approving, so everyone, please bear with us as we try to figure out all these Robert's rules within the Zoom framework. It does seem simplest that if we can just have ayes, and is it possible in that moment when I ask for that we can unmute everyone?
You can try that.
You think it's going to be crazy?
I don't know. Let's try it.
Okay, we'll see how it works in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, you won't be able to count how many eyes there are that way.
That's true.
And then follow up with, you know, all opposed, and then see if there's an opposed.
Yes, that sounds good. Okay, thank you for helping me out in this time. Moving on to the approval of the agenda for today. Were there any issues that people wanted to add, any items that they wanted to add to the agenda, or would we move forward? Anyone?
This is Carolyn. I motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, Carolyn motions to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
This is Maggie. I second.
Maggie seconds that. All those in favor of approval of the agenda for today's annual meeting? Aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, we will move forward.
I'm an aye, but is somebody going to unmute all of us, or do we each need to unmute ourselves when it's
I
time
don't think,
for a vote?
yeah, I don't think we need, I don't want everybody having to worry about muting and unmuting themselves. I was just going to see if Carolyn could do it en masse, and if it doesn't happen that way, we will fall to raising of hands and then also hearing if there are any nays and addressing those nays in any fashion that need be.
Okay, I will unmute us all next time.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. All right. Sorry, as I adjust my notes, we now will move into the review, the approval of committee reports. I have been the board chair, which came somewhat as a surprise in this past year. It has been nothing but a pleasure to be a part of this board, to be a part of this fellowship in this community. While any idea of being the chair of a board seems daunting, having the people that I get to work with, the people that we work with in this fellowship, it has made it an amazing experience for me. So particularly in this time where we have come upon a pandemic that is challenging how we move and how we deal with our life coming forward. And that's just in our lives, not only in terms of how we do it as a congregation. In those early days, it was amazing how quickly Carolyn came forward in terms of choosing Zoom as an option, finding ways as quickly as possible to have us be able to meet as a congregation. Then to have Karen, who has amazing experience through her educational occupation and everything, coming forward to really make this a very viable way for us to meet in this time. I think that there are other congregations who weren't necessarily as prepared. So it has been a great honor to have such people to work with. And I thank both Karen and Carolyn Otter for, I can't even tell you all of the things. I wrote in Otter's review for this year that there are lots of things we know that he does, and I think that there are probably even more that we don't. He has been an amazing leader in terms of our UU congregation and our fellowship. Sorry, I am looking to find my notes, and then all my notes are on my little phone rather than on my iPad, which I'm using to film. So one moment. So also, this transition of Sunday services, how we plan them, is another in terms of thanking Karen Estrel, Sue Oddie, and Ellen McDonald. I know that Ellen pulled back from that, but that she was definitely has been a great asset in terms of keeping Sunday services. But Karen and Sue and Beth and Carolyn, so many people. I am amazed at what we're doing, and we will be going with Sunday Services Committee on trying to decide how we're going to do this moving forward. And we have some great ideas. I think many of you have already seen these in terms of having more casual meetings and having our circles that we'll end up breaking out, but we'll discuss that more as we get into the discussion at the end of this meeting. But again, thank you to all those people within the Sunday Services Committee. And I didn't see Bill. Hopefully Bill is here. Earlier, I didn't see him, but I really have such a big thanks in terms of his focus and his leadership, in terms of bringing us into the Lingonberry. How we miss being able to meet there. One of the things that we discussed was the draw that it would have, and I really do feel that for myself in particular, that it was such a cozy, such a welcoming and great space to be in. And that was one of our big pushes of 2019, was getting into Lingonberry, and how, again, as a fellowship, we all did that, and how Bill did such a great job moving that forward. And then I would just encourage anybody who has not yet been involved in one of our committees to come forward and offer their time. Sometimes it takes a little pulling. I know that having had conversations with Carolyn and with Beth and with others, I was a little bit hesitant, and it has been so rewarding and a great experience to be a part of this fellowship in a way that keeps me more active and keeps me connected and keeps me knowledgeable about what it means to be a part of this community and to be active and helping in this community. So thank you. That is enough of me talking about that. I cannot thank you all enough. And let's move forward into the Sunday Service Committee report. And to that, I will move, I believe, to Karen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, as Matthew indicated, the kind of core committee had been Sue, Ellen, and myself. Ellen did step back. Sue is also planning on stepping back around June. So we will need other folks to kind of fill in the gaps here, as I don't want to be solely responsible for helping determine what our upcoming content will be. It worked well for our group to have basically two of us who were thinking about what speakers and topics we could have, and the other one being a service leader coordinator. We've kind of put on pause talking to the larger group, including all of the Sunday service leaders, exactly how we're going to move forward, because we're hoping that at some point we'll be able to resume in-person services, that we're not in a permanent Zoom situation. But depending on how long we are going to be meeting remotely, we might have to revisit that idea of structure sooner than later. Our theme for the year has been the power of we, which was inspired by last year's General Assembly's theme. And we decided this year not to use the Touchstones worship curriculum as we have in the past, but instead to leverage all the materials that we already have. So we determined our own monthly themes and have used those for helping to guide our service planning. And we also then were able to use that money that could have otherwise gone towards the curriculum to instead buy congregational copies of the supplementary hymnal Singing the Journey, which is the teal hymnal that we haven't been able to use very much, because fairly soon after we acquired it, we've moved to meeting remotely. But look forward to incorporating that more into our services and some of the more up-to-date as well as international songs that includes. And as we've already noted, another way that our services have evolved is that we're trying to incorporate land acknowledgement more regularly into the service itself. And we are looking forward to continuing to help guide what happens every Sunday. Thank you so much to all of the participants that make that possible, including every one of our service leaders, and in particular today, Nancy Berry, for stepping up for that.
All right, so this is where, trying to figure this out, do we actually have to approve the end of those reports? It actually says review and approval of committee reports. Is that something that's necessary? Carolyn, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think we voted on those before. We should maybe say acceptance of the reports rather than approval.
Right, okay. So we'll maybe at the end of all this, just make sure that's, see if there's anyone who needs to add anything or has any questions about them. All right, without any, are there any questions about the Sunday Service Committee that anyone has that they would like to comment or put forward?
I just comment that we have really amazing Sunday services.
Yes, I agree completely. And with that, I'll move over to the membership. And Deidre, I will hand that over to you.
Okay, good morning. So I'll just briefly touch on what I've got in the written report. So this past year, since our last annual meeting, we've had 4 new members, which has been fantastic. So Carrie, Paige, Stephen, and Lyra. And we also, with our increased visibility, I think in the Lingonberry, we've had slightly more guests as well. So we averaged 6 guests per Sunday this year, or in 2019, compared to 5 guests in 2018. And just kind of echo what I had said last year too. I'm largely a committee of one, actually, part of the committee in our role in welcoming, engaging with visitors, and eventually as they repeat and get more invested in visiting and enjoying us, then perhaps moving towards where they actually are willing to join and interested in joining. Also want to highlight and shout out about the name tags that we did last year. I think that's helped a lot. And being new myself a couple years ago, just knowing it takes a while to get to know names and faces and how much that really helps. So look forward to when we get back into our old digs and attract more visitors that way. And that's all I've got. So I'll take any questions if there's any.
As a board member, this is Carolyn. I just want to say thanks. It's really an important part of keeping us all glued together and bringing new people on board and helping them feel connected. And I really appreciate the good work that Deetra's been doing, and the work that everybody does, because it's everybody's job. And also just a shout out that when we can do stuff together, or maybe we just want to craft at home, we need new name tags. We have new people. So think about that, you crafty people.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, Deetra. Thank you, Carolyn. Ooh, there we go. Next, we'll move over to the report on OWL. And Lara, are you able to speak on that?
Sure. Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
It's a little low, but yes.
Okay. I don't know. I'll move closer and see if that helps. I don't see myself. Do you see me?
Yeah,
I see you.
Yes.
We'll see how it goes. The report that you have up is great. If somebody will scroll down, and I'll make sure that I don't skip over something that's at the end. Just as I go is fine. So this year we've so far trained Sandhya, which is great because now we have another, she's actually K through 6th grade certified teacher, or facilitator, I should say, which is awesome. The hope had been to have a plan a class in place this spring. So now we're looking at fall. On Wednesday of this coming week, we're actually having a Zoom for all of the OWL programs in the UUA. They asked us actually to stop hosting classes. It was like a week before everything in Decorah shut down, with the idea that they needed to take a stand and wanted us to be united in that, I think. And then wonderfully, we're going to have a training of how do you restart a class where trust had been established, and go from there. And thankfully, we actually were trying out something that we were intentional about having a small group in, and it's a great 7th to 9th grade class that Hannah Breckbill and Neil Martinson-Burrell had been leading. And they will hopefully have the opportunity to resume in person. We were meeting twice a week rather than once. That was the new thing. And I don't know how we want to move forward as a congregation. That's a question I'd want to bring to our board probably also. So after Wednesday, I'll get in touch with you about that. Yeah. So I feel like OWL is still something that people are excited about. I have a waiting list for the 4th to 6th grade class. So that's great. When it opens, we can put people in it. and we'll go from there. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Yeah.
Can you say more about OWL at Luther?
Yes. So I had a conversation. It was actually with Sandhya, who has lovely connections there. And so there's been a conversation happening about OWL at Luther since, gosh, back, I might have even been before I was trained as a facilitator. Julie, you were at the Peace and Justice Center. There was a student who, I know I danced with her in Jane's classes, but she was a UU member from another place before coming to Luther, and she started working on OWL stuff happening at Luther. Along the way, there's more and more people who are interested. We had conversations with Miriam when she was in the wellness department, and then now it's growing more into the student housing. I forget what that's called. The student housing group is starting to become curious about how to bring OWL to Luther. And so it is so needed. There is a recognition of it. And the question is, who is going to be the person, I think, who finally picks up that ball at Luther? And so we just keep having conversations. And most recently, I realized, though, that in the RA training, there's some real possibility of the RAs bringing it. And my inner hope is that they would love it so much that they would start becoming involved in our community leadership, because the one thing that keeps our program from growing even bigger is having more facilitators. So if you're interested in being a facilitator, let me know. But I think our community would be glad to have all of the ages offered once or twice a year. So.
Laura, there's just for those of us who maybe don't know anything about OWL or what it is, could you just say a few sentences about what is learned in the classes?
Yes.
Yeah, just a really quick summary of what it is. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't do that. So Our Whole Lives is what OWL stands for. And it is a sexuality curriculum that considers sexuality part of our whole beingness. And the classes themselves go from kindergarten all the way through adulthood. Yeah. And so, for instance, we ended at week 10, which is a panel that comes and speaks to the students who are taking the class right now. And that was a really nice ending point for us, actually, because it had just concluded the gender and sexual orientation identity, I don't know, weeks, lessons, workshops.
This is Karen. I just wanted to throw out there that I think just this past year they came out with curriculum that's just for older adults. So like folks who are more in the senior citizens range, recognizing that sexuality in that time of life can be a little different.
Yeah, and some of you have contacted me about being interested in that. So last I had checked, the curriculum was still being printed, but I have to say that might have been before Christmas. So I should look again.
Yeah, it's online now, so I think it's available, but we don't have anybody who's obviously been trained in it yet.
Yeah, yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you, Lara.
Yeah.
All right, at that, I guess I'm going to move to accept the committee reports. Can I do that as board chair? Can I move to accept the committee reports?
Yeah, you can. I would second that motion. This is Carol.
Excellent. So Otter, I have moved to accept the committee reports, and Carolyn has seconded the committee reports. We'll move now into the portion of the financial report, and I will hand that over to Beth.
Thank you, Matthew. So there are two printed reports that you would have received in the packet, and I'm sorry there's a discrepancy I noticed this morning. So there's the kind of the financial report that shows the different accounts and funds that we have. member emergency fund and different things. And then there's the budget and then the proposed budget. Anyway, there's a discrepancy, but that reflects the, on one of the documents, I added in the PayPal money we got. We have received 4 PayPal donations. And thank you to Carolyn for helping me get, and Julie Odie for helping me get that going. Anyway, so that's the discrepancy there. Sorry about that. And we were also able to use our PayPal account to set up to pay our Zoom amount, our Zoom charges. So that's very convenient for us to have. Basically, our budget, we ended up not having to use, we had kind of built in that we might need to take some money out of savings to get through this past year, and we haven't had to do that. So just in general, we're on track with our income, and our revenues and our expenses we're not in the red, so for the year, so that's good. Ellen Rockney has very graciously let us lower our rent at Lingonberry. We're paying $200 instead of $400, so that's very nice of her. We want to keep that connection there, so it's been good for her. We can help pay some of the utilities, but yet not have the full expense. So anyway, let's see, what else do I need to say? Oh, if you look at the annual finance report, we do have there's some funds that are separate, and we do have a small balance right now in the memorial fund. And I was talking with Carolyn, I'd like to propose that we spend that and maybe a little more to buy some new hymnals in Sarah Corbin's name as a memorial gift to her in her memory. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up. Does anybody have any questions about any of this, or you want me to give more details for the budget for next year? I'm making the assumption that things are going to kind of go back to normal, but obviously that's probably optimistic that starting July things will be. But that's what the proposed budget is. Sorry, it's reflecting that kind of a positive outlook on hoping that things will go back more to normal. But does anyone have any questions?
So I'm just interjecting because I see 4 raised hands, and I just want to make sure those I just want to make those aren't for questions. I see Ellen McDonald's hand is raised, Janet's is raised, and Lynn has her hand raised. So, okay, just making sure those weren't for questions. Doing good on voting. Thank you.
Well, and of course I'm oh, go ahead.
Sorry, how do I get my hand down so it's not raised?
Oh, click on the participants.
Okay.
I think. And then does it say, if you look by your name, does it say lower hand or
I think you actually click on the raise hand button again to lower it.
Yeah.
Is it off?
Still there.
There it goes.
That's off. Yeah.
Perfect.
Sorry.
And so now, are there any questions on the financial report?
And if you want to contact me directly, please do, and I'll try to explain what I'm doing. And thank you to Carl Peterson, who's been advising me on some things, and to Tom Wahlberg for his Excel spreadsheet skills.
Awesome.
I'd like to just express appreciation for Beth for doing this, because I've been around long enough to know that this is her second time around, and that Tom did it before that, and that's a lot of work.
Definitely.
I think he was much more efficient about things than I am. It doesn't come too naturally, but I kind of like to joke, what are they going to do, fire me?
Nope. So this is where we would accept the financial report. Do I hear?
The financial report. This is Carolyn.
Okay. Is that, you said you moved to accept it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. We have
This is
Carol
Maggie.
I will second.
Ellen McDonald will second it. All right. Excellent. Otter, we have Carolyn moving to accept the financial report with Ellen McDonald seconding. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. So we will now move on to the election items. And
Matthew?
yes.
This is Otter.
Yes.
Just so that I can complete this little thing in the minutes, could you have a vote on accepting the OWL membership, Sunday services, and chair report? It was moved and seconded, but there wasn't.
Oh, and I didn't have people vote. I apologize. Yes.
And then ask for nays too. Ayes and nays.
Yes. And okay. All those in favor of accepting the OWL, the review and approval of committee reports, say aye.
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 And nays? Hearing none, we will accept those and move forward. Okay, Otter?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you for catching that for me. I appreciate it. Election items. We have two, those for board and those for members of the nominating committee. We will begin with voting for members of the board. You can vote for 3. How do we on Zoom proceed with this? That I just put the one name forward and everyone votes?
I would like to
That sound right?
propose that we put them all up at the same time. And I would motion to approve
That's great.
Matthew Alexander, Julie Odie, and Lynn Plegancool for new board members for 2020 next year.
And I'll
Yes, I agree.
second that. I'll second the slate of nominees.
Yep. Is that?
Carol,
I'm sorry,
hey,
that's the one I. Carol, thank you, Carol. So that's Carolyn moving and Carol seconding that we put all 3 at once. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Do you have any nays?
I approve, yeah.
Carl approves. Any nays? Hearing none, we will move forward. We will put up for voting for the board Matthew Alexander, Julie Odie, and Lynn Plegancool.
Thank you, everyone, for doing that.
All right. I got a little lost in there. That one's done. We're ready to move on to members of the nominating committee. Okay. If I've done anything that needs to be, Otter and Carolyn and all can check on me and let me know. Moving forward for member that we at once, both Lolly Madriguera and Janet Snyder will be voted in as members of the nominating committee.
I move we approve, this is Beth, I move we approve the slate of 2 for the nominating committee, Lolly and Janet.
This is Carolyn. I second.
Okay.
Carolyn seconds it. Beth moves. Carolyn seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? None. Forward. Thank you, Lolly, Janet, and have them as the members of the nominating committee. Next up on our docket is a discussion of our Zoom Sunday services in the coming months. I know that there's already been quite a bit of discussion. Does anyone want to begin about particularly, I know that we've talked about having sessions that are a little bit more casual, that would then move into breakout sessions. And those breakout sessions would probably be into our circles, that we would go off and have a smaller meeting, and those could be on various topics. Does anyone want to carry that forward?
I'll talk about that. This is Carolyn, and I've agreed to be the host for next Sunday's casual service. So we'll start with our usual fare and joys and concerns and lighting the chalice and passing the hat and all those good things. And then we'll set up breakout rooms. And so it looks kind of like these, but I forget how it works, but you'll be like invited to join 1 or 2 or 3 breakout rooms. Right now, there's an interest in a breakout room that talks about helping children through these stressful times. Another breakout that I'll be leading that's talking about some of the anti-racism work that's happening in Decorah. And if you're interested in a certain topic and you're interested in being maybe the facilitator or host for a breakout room, you can let me know, and we're just going to give it a test run next week. I haven't heard from anybody who wants a specific breakout for their circle. If you or your circle wants to do a breakout room, we can set that up. Just let me know.
Yeah, I think that what we talked to, this is Karen, what we talked about before is that maybe one Sunday it might be more by topic, and then another Sunday it might be more by circles. But I think it also depends on whether the circles want to meet that way. I think it would be weird maybe to have a hybrid of like one circle meeting while everybody else is not in circles, but maybe it would work. I don't know. Something that we can talk about. I did also just want to throw out there that I don't want to facilitate a topic next week, but if you have another volunteer for somebody who wants to talk about a topic, but they don't want to handle the Zoom portion, I'm happy to handle the Zoom portion.
This is Ellen, and I was the one who suggested the helping children through, and I was looking at it primarily as a distant grandparent because my children are overwhelmed, and I just would like to do something that would be enriching. I mean, I've been working on doing some things that are enriching, not the school curriculum, but that was my interest, and I'm willing to facilitate that. And I'd like to grab Karen as the technical support because I find the multitasking involved to be too much.
This is Jean, and I have a question. How long of a time are we looking at for these topic groups?
Jean, this is Carolyn, and just gauging on how much time we spend normally with the welcoming and the chalice lighting and the passing the hat, and then coming back again. We all come back again at the very end for extinguishing the chalice. So really, we only have like 30, maybe 40 minutes. And that's why I would almost think, I don't know if circles are the best use of that time, because, you know, if you have 6 or 8 people in a group, that means everybody gets 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. Anyhow, it's not a ton of time. It's enough time to do some good social networking and, you know, maybe follow up with people after.
Thank you.
Carolyn, maybe this would be a good time to just give people a little background on why we're wanting to talk about Sunday services going forward. Just that we're overloading a small group of people, and we're realizing as a board and as the leaders of the Sunday service, that's not a sustainable model to have, you know, Nancy Berry and everybody leading and Karen Estrel doing every Sunday. So we're just trying to think of ideas for how we can keep connected and not burn people out and stress people out too much.
I also have a question for the board, because I know that, you know, the Iowa governor says one thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we want to do. So how is the board determining how long we will continue to meet remotely?
I don't, I know that we've had discussions, so when I say this, it doesn't necessarily come full from the board, but following the guides from our health leaders, the doctors, what we are hearing from the science and the medical people are what I believe that we're going to follow. I think we're also going to be listening to our congregation and our fellowship, knowing really the age of our group and how to meet. I think that that's what we're going to be using as our guide. Anyone else from the board or from the congregation even can chime in on this, that we're going to be moving very carefully forward so that we know that it's safe for us to be together, and that when we gather, we do it correctly, we do it safely. This is, along with our tenets, the inherent dignity, worth, and dignity of each person, that we have to consider how we gather. Getting together when we can is absolutely on our mind, but making sure that we're safe is going to be a priority before we consider coming together.
I'll also add about, I think one of the things that we all agreed on from a board perspective is really following a science-led perspective. So we're not going to be just jumping on the bandwagon because people say, get back together and get back to work. And that's a dangerous proposal right now that's putting the most disadvantaged people in the greatest harm's way. And we do not want to be leading on that kind of thing. We're going to be following science. I mean, I'm going to be going off the board. So, but from what I heard from just our most recent round is we want to follow the best scientific minds that there are out there. I'm going to also just say there's a lot of opportunity for casual Sundays. You know, I know we're all really missing music. And one of the things we could do is just open it up to music performances. And anyhow, it's wide open what we can do on a more casual Sunday. And also I want to say that let's stick, I plan to stick offering Zoom even after we can meet back in real life so that people have a choice of how close they want to meet.
This is Lolly. I just want to say that for myself, what I have decided about the getting together again, I am going to wait until the hospitals allow visitors to come in to visit the patients for me to go out into the universe, because the hospitals do pay attention to science and the politicians, some of whom do not. So I just wanted to share that perspective.
Thank you, Lolly. And this is Karen again. And I just want to note that right now we do already have some Sundays scheduled through the beginning of June. So we've got at least 2 casual Sundays, like what we're talking about, but then we do have speakers for a few Sundays. So it's really, once we get to June, how do we want to proceed through the rest of the summer? Do we want it to be like one Sunday casual, one Sunday speaker, or more formal? Or do we want to use another approach?
Jean DeWitt, did you have something to say?
I wanted to say thank you for not listening to the governor. Jean out.
Yeah, correct.
This is Lynn, you know, because I'm in Fayette County and we're still a closed, or supposedly, you know, closed. So it's unfortunate that this has to happen, but I don't even feel comfortable coming up to Winneshiek yet. And then, you know, for me in Fayette County, where it's still a hot spot too, is I just stay home. I want to keep people safe.
just to everyone, just, you know, if you have things you'd like to comment about this to the board, please email us or call us. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this for the summer and go from there, I guess.
Yes.
This is Julie Odie. I have a question for the, I think we've got most everybody on that's been really doing all the work behind these services. And I guess my question is, it seems like it's a lot more work than planning a regular in-person service. And I just wondered if that's the case. That kind of helps me decide which way I would lean on how we move forward in the summer. Thanks.
This is Karen, and I would say yes, it does require a lot more work. And I think it's actually a lot more work, whether it's a casual Sunday or a more formal Sunday, because you still need at least one, if not two people who are familiar with using Zoom and who are able to juggle all of the different aspects of it with sharing the screen, sharing computer sound, monitoring chat, etc. So, you know, we're really relying on volunteers to take on that kind of leadership. And then when we have an external speaker coming, then there's another level of it in terms of always needing to meet with that speaker ahead of time. And, you know, so normally it's a double service for anybody who's working as a service leader, because they're doing the service once with the speaker for about an hour, during which they talk through how it's going to work and make sure that all the technical aspects are worked out. And then it's the actual service on the Sunday of. But I'll be interested to see how Carolyn's experience goes with doing the breakout rooms this coming Sunday. She'll have a better idea of whether this casual experience is any less time or effort intensive than the more formal.
This is Ellen, and I did last Sunday's service, and I found it a huge amount of work to get ready, most of which was shared with Carolyn. I'm not sure how much doing one would prepare me to do more, but I don't know whether you noticed, I did a really stripped down job, and Carolyn did the support behind. I didn't do any pasting into chat. I didn't do any sharing of my screen. Many of the things that Karen had obviously put in, I don't know, days and days of work in changing. We have this document called Transition Words or Transition Script, something for service leaders. And that was totally redone. And I got overwhelmed by it. So I printed it out, and it was 9 pages. So a lot of that work has been done, but each time a new service leader says, okay, I'll jump in here. I got to stop laughing, but I just appreciate so much how much Karen and Carolyn have done. But if I were doing another, I think I would do it on the basis of really stripped down, no thinking about chat, no sharing my screen, no getting YouTube videos. I don't know what I do about music, because it turns out that having us sing with Otter pushes a whole lot of work onto him that I wasn't appreciative of until he did it, and then I figured it out.
Yeah, so in general, I will say that that's another aspect, is that pretty much nobody is ever leading a service alone the way that we do in person. It's almost always the case that you're going to need somebody to be the speaker and somebody else to help manage with the tech aspects of it. So it's a double volunteer at least for every one of these Zoom services.
This is Jean. I've done several Zoom IEP meetings and stuff, so I have some experience, but is there any way we could get some kind of a training for people who might be interested in doing something but can't, or don't have the skills right now?
This is Carolyn, and I'd be happy to set up Zoom trainings. If people are interested in learning some Zoom skills, I'd be happy to walk you through, because I've learned all the things to do wrong.
Also, I went to one from the Midwest our regional thing. I went to one, and the woman leading that, whose name I can't come up with right now, said that she'd go on offering those as long as 10 to 15 people signed up for each one. So I could get you information about that. Was pretty basic, and if you've led Zoom meetings, you might not need it that basic. Maybe Carolyn would just pick it up from there.
And also Karen, this is Beth. Karen did train in some of us on it. And so Karen has a document that maybe you could share with people, Karen, even if you can't take the time to go through it with everybody. But that was very helpful training that Karen did.
How would we get ourselves on? This is Jean again. Would there be like an email or?
I've written your name down already, Jean.
Woo!
Yeah, this is Nancy, and so today, partly so that Karen and Carolyn could have a Sunday off from this, I really thought that I could do the whole screen sharing as well, since it was a short service, and there were two factors. One is I didn't give myself enough time to prepare to really run through the thing the way I needed to. And then I ran into a glitch when I was preparing. But I would say that it is difficult to do on your own. They're just, you're fussing with papers, you're fussing with readings. It really does help. I've been very grateful to the help that Karen and Carolyn have provided myself, and I thought it would, I want to say I thought it would be easier to do it on my own, but that's just, you know, my foolishness talking, because it really does take two people.
This is Julie Odie again. So that confirms what I thought about what all you guys are doing that have helped with the services. And I wonder if, I don't know if we were going to try and make a decision today, but I would propose after we do our casual Sunday next week, look at the possibility of maybe only gathering twice a month while we're doing virtual. I'm just going to throw that out there because it just sounds like it's a lot of work for everyone, even though the rest of us all really, really enjoy it.
Thanks, Julie, for that. And I will say it would be helpful for us to kind of decide on that sooner than later. Like I said, the rest of May is covered, but when we get into June, it would be helpful to know if we are indeed meeting every Sunday, or if we are going to have an every other Sunday approach, or even a 2 per month, as you were just suggesting. Because if we're going to have more formal services that involve speakers, we normally try to ask them at least a month in advance of when they would be speaking. So the time for me and Sue, as long as she's helping out with that, to engage possible speakers for June is now. So we need to know how much scheduling we need to do.
This is Jean. I have an idea going off of what Julie had said. If we were to do I know this is a great way for people to connect during this stupid time. But if we were to do every other week or 2 times a month, like we used to in the summertime, and then use those off weeks, maybe if the circles wanted to just check in on each other. Just an idea. It wouldn't need to be a formal thing with all the music and whatever, but maybe just a quick check-in that way. I'm done.
Hi, this is Steve. I just want to check in here with everybody. I like the idea of the circles themselves meeting, and I guess that would be additional work, but I see we now have people who are in charge of each circle. How much more work would that be for individual Zoom sessions within the circles? That's a question.
Petra had her hand up earlier.
Sorry.
Thanks. No, that's fine. So a couple thoughts. One is I can see the circles meeting if it's just a regular Zoom meeting, like some of us are doing with family to check in. It's a lot less work than this. The other thing I would ask the board to consider is maybe after next week, do a survey and just see what people are needing right now from the fellowship. I know for me, I've got so much with work and dealing with COVID that I just hardly have bandwidth on the weekend, and I'm fine not meeting. I understand other people may need it. So, because I hate to see us going through a lot of extra work because we're making assumptions, and maybe get some data and go from there. But thank you for all that everyone has done.
Thanks.
And I'm hoping that Carolyn will speak to the complexity of having the circles meet instead of having a formal service.
I'm not quite sure what you want. Karen, what I really want to know is, do you as the Active Services Committee want some kind of firm guidance going forward? Because I thought we'd talked about for sure having real services every other week through indefinitely, and then trying out breakout rooms and see what we can do on the odd casual weeks. But
no, okay, so there are two different things. One is responding to Stephen's question, and then the other is that what we had decided was that we were definitely doing the casual services in May, but my understanding is that this conversation now was saying, okay, but for the rest of the summer, what are we going to do? And so Stephen's question was piggybacking on some of the other comments that people had made, saying, well, what if instead of having a all-together service on one of our Sundays, we open that as an opportunity for the circles to meet? So no joys and sorrows, no offering, no chalice lighting, just having the meeting rooms available for people to connect with one another in circles. Stephen had asked, would that be more difficult, or what would the complexity of that be?
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay. The circles could meet on the casual Sundays and not have any kind of servicey stuff. And you just have to, I'd say, let me know, or somebody on the board know that that's something you want to do, so that I or somebody can open up the meeting and set up the breakout rooms. And that's not a ton of work, actually, knock on wood. So that's a big can do. We could do circles meeting on odd Sundays with no other service.
Okay.
Here's Otter, can I ask a question? Is it necessary if there's no like communal service and then breaking out into breakout rooms, can the circles just meet like with a Zoom meeting rather than going through the breakout room step?
Yes.
But the thing is that they only one person can be logged in, like one meeting can be using the Decorah UU Zoom account at the same time.
Right.
So you could have, if people have their own Zoom accounts and they want to host their own Zoom meeting separately for up to however long their particular subscription to Zoom allows them to meet, they could do that. But Decorah UU Zoom account can be used for only one meeting, so if you wanted to use that as your host account, that's why you would have to use breakout rooms if the circles are meeting simultaneously.
Is there an advantage to using the UU Zoom account? I mean, you don't even have to have an account in Zoom to initiate a meeting and invite people to come to your Zoom meeting.
The advantage has been that if you have a free Zoom account, the limit had been only 45 minutes. So if you wanted to ever meet longer than that, you couldn't without paying for Zoom. I don't know if they've lifted that limit for right now because of COVID.
They haven't.
I think it's been changed with the COVID.
Yeah.
It's limitless. I could be wrong though.
No, I was Zooming with families and friends, and unless you have an account, you're at 40 minutes, you're just sayonara, you're out of there.
Actually, I also have Zoom with friends, and I think after that 45 minutes, you can go back on again, and they give you another 45 minutes.
You could
Is that
start
right?
another meeting. You could start another meeting.
And this is Ellen. It is only with tax $16 a month, so I just got my own. But I have another matter about circle meetings, and this maybe we're straying too far, but I have some problems with having someone in our circle who can't do anything but telephone. And I don't mean telephoning to Zoom, I mean a telephone call. So I have found, I haven't given it a test yet, but I've found a free service that a friend of mine who's a therapist is using for groups and individuals. That's free conference calling, and I intend to try to get that going. I think a telephone next to your ear is wonderful technology, and that for 6 people that could be done. I was just really floundering around with how do we leave out one of the people in our circle who probably is more isolated than anyone else. Would it be right for 4 of the 6 of us to meet and see each other's faces, and then 1 come in by phone, and then 1 be left out completely? Karen, I have a question for you. I haven't looked at this sheet recently, but is it possible that 1 or 2 of the speakers that you have, or say 1 of the speakers that you have for May, could be moved to June so that we can spread out the formal services and put more informal in between?
I honestly don't know. I wasn't working with those particular speakers. Sue was.
Oh.
I think, I mean, it is possible, but we do already have 2 casual services in the month of May.
Okay. All right.
I'm not really concerned about right now. I'm worried about going forward for June, July, August.
Matthew, maybe in the interest of wrapping up our meeting, did you see the motions in the chat about the summer?
Yes, I did.
So maybe we should vote on that for now and then see how that goes, and then
Yes, that
resume
sounds.
talking some other time. Okay.
It does. Since we are at 11:30, we're kind of extending out a little longer than we meant to. Look for that specific wording. I liked it, that we would move, transition to every other week services beginning June 2020 through the end of August, and we would review at the end of July how that is going.
And that was Carol Hagan making that motion, Otter.
Yep, Carol Hagan moved that.
And Jean DeWitt seconded.
Jean DeWitt seconded that. All those in favor of transitioning to every other week services beginning in June through the end of August with a review at the end of July, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Are there any nays? Hearing none, we will move forward from that discussion, finding what we can, emailing with each other to kind of fine tune these things. I saw other people raising hands trying to chime in on that. Pretty big discussion. We are considering it. The board will continue. If we need to meet, we will do so. But thank you, everyone. We'll move forward. Again, thank you to all of the amazing people who helped to make this happen. And I move to adjourn.
I second that.
And who was that? Sorry, Janet?
Lara. Lara seconds that.
Excellent. Lara seconds that. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
Aye.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
We had the extinguishing the chalice.
Oh, that's
Just to
fine.
finish our service.
Move back to service with Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for such a good meeting. And I need my screen shared.
Oh, sorry.
So Beth, if you could unshare your screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there we go.
Okay. That's okay. I'm going to share my screen, which will extinguish the chalice. As I read, may the light we have now kindled inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, everyone.
All. Good to see you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry, my computer blew up during the middle of this, and so I missed most of the meeting.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you all. Good to see you all.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone stay safe. Everyone stay well.
You too.